Hello, everyone. This is Anna Pacheco with SantaFe101.com, your complete real estate resource for Santa Fe and New Mexico. My guest today is JoAnne Vigil Coppler, and she's been a realtor for many years. JoAnne, do I have your permission to record this session?
Yes, you do.
Okay, well, good. Well, so explain to me, you became your own qualifying broker about 5 years ago?
Yes, I achieved the licensure in the state of New Mexico as qualifying broker, which is the highest licensure you can get in the real estate industry. And before that, I was a qualifying broker, and I've been in the business I've been licensed for 38 years. And then I've been actively doing real estate for 18, and within my own company, 5 years.
And what made you want to go on and out on your own?
Well, that was always my goal. I was in public service for 25 years, and I wanted to, I always had an interest in real estate. So I got my license while I was working in public service after hours. And I kept my license because it's very rigorous. It's a rigorous educational program, and it's not very easy to get. And I maintained everything. And I decided that when I would venture into this, that eventually I wanted to have my own autonomy. And so it took me, 13 years to get there. Wow. And it was a very good journey because I learned a whole lot. And you can't just jump out on your own and expect that you know everything there is to know. You have to have a lot of education.
And you said that you worked in public service, but you still work in public service. You are on the city council for Santa Fe, correct?
Yes, I'm in my 3rd year as a Santa Fe city councilor, and it's been a wonderful journey so far. I also find that it helps me in real estate because I'm a little closer to like planning and land use and understanding how that all works. Although, in real estate, you learn very quickly that there are all those steps you have to take and make sure when you purchase or sell property. But it's been very helpful to be more in tune with planning and land use zoning and codes and ordinances and fees and permits, all the things you need in real estate.
And you're a counselor for District 4, is that correct?
Right, I'm a counselor for District 4 in Santa Fe.
Okay, so I know right now, we're definitely in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's all this these climate disasters that are happening in California, Colorado, Louisiana. I mean, every time you turn on the news, there's something new. So tell me, since March until now, what real estate is like here in Santa Fe?
Well, at first it was a little bit concerning because, sellers certainly were wondering, should I put my house on the market or should I go for it? And some cases they have to for various reasons. But the other question now with the pandemic is, do I want people going through my home? That's a big concern. So the National Association of Realtors right away prepared some guidelines for helping realtors across the nation figure out how to prepare homes, what kinds of instructions we should be communicating to people who are coming through the homes, and maybe figure out new ways such as virtual tours to reduce the idea of having to have open houses. So,
now, I've read that there's not a lot of inventory in Santa Fe, but there are people that are wanting to sell their houses right now?
Right, there are. There's not a lot of inventory right now, what we're used to anyway. So that means that it's a seller's market. They can pretty much command their price. Maybe if they have to negotiate, not so much downward. But it is a seller's market, and there are people who, as I mentioned, they may be in a position where they have to sell. They might have a new job somewhere else, or there's all kinds of family issues or things that might have a seller decide, this is a good time. Now it is a good time too, because if you need to sell your house, they're selling very quickly too. So I talked just a bit about price, but they are going fast. I've had that experience right now too, myself.
I've read in the local paper that we're getting a lot of people from California. Are you seeing climate refugees, or are you seeing people coming? Where are you seeing people coming from that are wanting to move here now?
The fires, for example, California, but they're also coming from places where we've had, bad hurricanes and bad weather, and not just the fires. And then, of course, the high COVID rates in other states people have been coming here mostly because maybe they've always wanted to come here, or at the time we had some pretty low COVID rates. Right now they're climbing a little bit, but I expect that, as the whole country, that eventually everybody will get on an even keel, and hopefully, we'll go down to the downward trend. I've had people also from Arizona coming here.
Oh, really? Because Arizona's kind of well, they had a high number of COVID patients a while back, but I mean, it's a beautiful state. I mean, there's plenty of room there, like there is here in New Mexico. But
Right,
they're wanting to come here.
Right.
So you've been doing this a while here in Santa Fe. Can you let people that may be watching this are like, what are some tips that you can give? Because unfortunately, this is my hometown, as it is yours. It's gotten real expensive. So what are some tips for, like, say, younger people that finally their jobs, because of everything that's going on, they can work remotely now. They can work from wherever they'd like. What are some tips for them in terms of, Santa Fe is world renowned. People want to live in Santa Fe. What would you suggest for people that, again, they're maybe in their 40s, they're raising a family. They don't have the big bucks because Santa Fe has become really expensive. What would you recommend or suggest?
Well, let me start with saying that first-time home buyers, they don't just have to be young people. They can be middle-aged people looking for some assistance in home buying. The city of Santa Fe has a first-time housing program. Several lenders that also offer products for first-time home buyers. And what one needs to do is contact the city office and find out what agencies they can go through, such as the Santa Fe Community Housing Trust, HomeWise, and some other organizations where they can get some assistance for the purchase of their first home.
And when you say assistance, you just mean like guidance. You don't mean financial assistance. You mean guidance.
They can get some financial assistance as well. For example, with Santa Fe Community Housing Trust, you have to take a course, which is fairly, it's designed for working people, where the schedule, of course now you can do it online, but the schedule is considerate of working people. And it goes through the lending process, how you find a home, how you pay for that home after you've purchased it, how you maintain your home, all of the different subjects that one needs to learn, because buying a home is there's a lot of legal paperwork, and there's a lot of things you should know so that you can shop around, not just for lenders, but shop for the home that you want. And so there's assistance there, and that's what I mean. Not just educational assistance, but financial assistance.
But don't you think a lot of first-time home owners, they've been it's too expensive for them here in Santa Fe, or do you think there's some options?
Well, it is expensive, and it's probably not going to get less expensive. We do have ups and downs in the market. So, in a down market for buyers, in a buyer's market, you can still, pay less for something maybe than in a seller's market. But, you might need to start off with a townhouse, a condo, or, maybe buy a property that's needs some work. And if you can deal with that over time, that you're going to maybe save up and try to make some improvements to it. But that's the whole reason, one needs to shop around, because to just say everything's so expensive, yes, but maybe not always. Maybe there is something out there. I've helped several first-time home buyers buy a house. Now, there are different programs with the financial assistance where you can get some help, where maybe you can qualify to buy a home that you didn't think you could afford. So, it's best to check all the options. There's help out there.
Do you ever recommend like Santa Fe County to get out of the city? Because I've heard that maybe you can get better, a better pricing outside of the city itself.
Well, sometimes you can. It's all relative. A seller who does not have their home on the market now may have their house on the market later, and it may be at an affordable price. Remember, those people who purchase first-time homes eventually will be selling those homes. So the appreciation on that home could still be affordable for someone. And in some cases, the city, in the past at least, they have worked to keep those homes that were once affordable in the continual affordable process. So
what does that mean? They've worked to, isn't it your house? You can price it however you'd like, or how does the city manage to do that?
Well, there's the affordable housing program has changed in some respects over time. What I think they found was you can have all these first-time really affordable homes, but you have to try to keep them affordable, because what was happening is those homes would appreciate. The person who got to buy that home then turns around and sells it at a higher appreciated price, and it's no longer a first-time home buyer home, to the next person. So there is some.
So is there like regulations saying, like, does they help you? They say, so now when you sell the house, you can only sell it at X amount. That's tough in place?
Well, it's an shared equity kind of program where the city gets their equity, some of their equity back, and then the home still remains in the program. It's difficult to manage, but there could still be some homes out there like that under that program. But the whole point of this is a first-time home buyer really needs to contact the agencies directly to find out what might be the best fit for them, because many times people think they can't afford something, but if they get the assistance that helps them with the down payment or other measures in place for that particular program, they may be able to buy a home that's more affordable for them.
And I found that, Santa Fe tends to be a retirement community and older. And I think a trend that I'm seeing is that oftentimes people will sell their homes because, their kids are grown and they have grandchildren, but they probably don't live in Santa Fe anymore. And so that seems to be like an area where, older people are going to live close to the grandkids. And so maybe they've lived here all their lives, or they've been here 50 or 60 years and they don't want to leave Santa Fe, but they're getting to an age where they want to be close to the grandkids and their children. So are you seeing that as well?
Yes, that's definitely something I'm seeing. The people are moving away to be close to their children, and the older community, many times they're moving away because of the climate. The high altitude sometimes is not conducive to growing older. Also the cold, of course, we're not as cold as we used to be, I guess, and what I'm hearing with weather predictions, but the cold weather is kind of hard. So elderly people are moving to Arizona and Florida. Where else? California. I don't know so much California anymore, but anyway, people do put their houses on the market for very many reasons.
And so do you also, it sounds like you work a lot with first-time home buyers. Is that something you specialize in, or is it like a broad spectrum? Do you work with like really high-end housing, or do you have an area that you like to focus in on?
I focus on any seller or buyer that wants to sell their house or buy a house. It's not I don't focus in any particular classification. I know a lot about first-time home buyer programs. I've sold some, and of course, you know, being on the city council, I know about the programs. I've also been president of the Santa Fe Association of Realtors. I've been treasurer of that committee. I've been on the board of the state New Mexico Association of Realtors and a legislative lobbyist for them. So you begin to know a lot about everything. And so I find that I have a diverse set of clients, you know, high end, middle end, and low end, such as finding first-time home buyer people their first home. But I work with everyone. I don't do a whole lot of commercial, so I'm primarily residential, both you know, homes and land.
And since you've had statewide leadership roles, are there any like good deals that people would know about in New Mexico? I mean, are there areas they should focus in on? I mean, everybody's in love with Santa Fe. Everybody's heard about Santa Fe, but you know, we can't grow too much more because we're surrounded by Indian pueblos. And so are there other areas of New Mexico that you would maybe recommend or have people at least look at? I mean, I know you're trying to sell, you know, you work here out of Santa Fe, but just in terms of, you know, being helpful to people that might be watching this, are there other areas of the state that people should consider?
Gosh, of course. I mean, northern New Mexico is very beautiful. If one wants to have more rural living, northern New Mexico is beautiful. And so, you know, places like Nambe, Powake, Taos, all of those areas, you know, we have movie stars in Taos too, of course, like Santa Fe, but they're all very beautiful places. And then if you go down south, Albuquerque, you know, it still is a good buy. They have great entertainment, things to do.
And Albuquerque's pretty in its own way. You know, I'm spoiled. I mean, this is my hometown, but you know,
Right.
there are parts of Albuquerque that are pretty cool. You know, there
are very many places. Nob Hill area. I just sold my own house in a neighborhood called Ridgecrest, which is about a mile behind Nob Hill, close to UNM. I bought that house so that my son could alleviate himself of living in the dorms, and then, you know, instead of paying the dorm fees, I could pay myself with the house. But you know, that house got snatched up a couple of weeks ago fast. But the thing about Albuquerque too is that they've got such great entertainment venues, and so that's, you know, that's a good place to live, I think. And of
there
course,
are parts of Albuquerque like the South Valley, and as you're going, you know, actually it's kind of like rural living in the city. I mean,
yeah,
you're in Albuquerque proper, but there's still, you know, you have bigger lots, and it feels kind of, you know, it has that kind of feel still, I think.
absolutely, like Corrales, Los Ranchos, any place in between there is just beautiful. North Valley, South Valley, you know, depending on what you're looking for. And then in between, we have Placitas.
Oh, that's
in
beautiful.
between Albuquerque and Santa Fe.
And what about Bernalillo? You know, I was there this summer, and you know, it kind of had a funky kind of Southwest feel about it still. Do you know anything about the Bernalillo real estate market?
I don't, and I can't, you know, the thing that they have some nice venues too. They've got Tamaya, they've got that golf course, they've got all of those soccer fields. They have the rural living and little quaint little places in there. So that's a very nice town.
And they're close to some Indian pueblos. I always tell people here that New Mexico will never, especially Santa Fe, but will never have the urban sprawl of a Phoenix or a Denver or Dallas, because we're the only state in the union that has 19 distinct Indian pueblos. So much of this, you know, it's much of the land is sovereign. So it's kind of bittersweet in the sense that it's always going to be beautiful here, but you know, we have limited, although we are a large state, there's only certain areas that we can grow, especially places like Santa Fe. Yeah.
Right.
But
all of our growth is pretty much on the south side, which you know, I think is becoming a nice, very nice area, the south side of Santa Fe.
Well, we have a hospital down that way. I mean, they're really doing a good job, the developers, in the sense that there's like senior living. I mean, they're doing, it's an entity that you don't have to come to this part of town. I live in Midtown, I guess they call it now. You don't have to come to Midtown or go north. So much of all the, all the necessities that you have are now being built. Like you said, that's where the growth is happening,
Right, and you know, close to the Presbyterian Hospital is a fairly new apartment complex strictly for first-time renters.
Oh,
Or
really?
renters that can qualify. I shouldn't say first-time renters, but renters that can qualify for rental assistance to live there. And it's specifically the whole program of that complex is that.
What is the
So
name of that complex? Do you know off the top of your head?
goodness, I forgot. I'm sorry to say. I
Oh,
just
that's
have
okay.
went to the grand opening, and it's in Los Solares.
That
And
whole area is called
it's
Los Solares.
close to the hospital and close to the senior living complex they have there as well.
Okay. Well, our time is up here, but I wanted to, I definitely want to have you back on, because I think we can talk about other aspects of living in Santa Fe, because you have a leadership role with the city council. I think you're pretty up and up on things. So I do want to thank you. And again, it's JoAnne Vigil Coppler. She's been a realtor here in Santa Fe for what, over 30 years, I guess, or close
Well,
to 30 years.
licensed, yeah, 38.
Well, and what I'll do is make sure that all your contact information is with this recording, and we'll go from there and see. Thank you again for your time, and I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll have you again.